Hello and welcome to today's episode that deals with cultural and society reporting. Cultural and society reporting is an important beat that puts people in touch with their heritage, society and culture. While the culture beat focuses on language, customs, rituals, religion, the dressing style of tribes and people, society reporting focuses on what's happening in the society, with an emphasis on women's issues, passion, family and lifestyle, celebrity gossip with an emphasis on page 3 events. Culture and society reporting, as you must have guessed, is the topic for today's program. Guiding us is our subject expert Shikha Gandhi and I am Sakshi Mandwal. But before we begin, let's be clear about the takeaways from today's program. At the end of the program, you will be able to create captivating stories on society and culture that editors will want and readers will love. Learn how to find stories on the two beats. Learn how to develop and find and maintain sources. Research culture and society issues. Be able to report and write on cultural organizations, culture and celebs. Before we begin, there is the need to understand what is the meaning of culture as well as society reporting. Let's start with culture. Culture defined. As we all know, man has traversed a long journey from caves to penthouses. This journey has taken him from being a savage to a higher state, which is called civilization. To put it very simply, culture is a type of civilization. And to elaborate, culture is a state of manners, taste and intellectual development at a time or place. It refers to all those influences of customs and rituals, of language and literature, of religion, morals and of the arts that have a refining and civilizing influence on man. Culture and cultural movements have a big impact on the way we live our lives and think. And this is what you will be tracking as a cultural reporter. An example could be how the US feminist movement produced a shift in gender relations, altering both gender and economic structures and thus the dominant culture. Cultural reporting. An overview. Cultural reporting requires you to cover not only individuals, that is artists, craftsmen, etc., but also to cover different cultural organizations, institutions and events. As a cultural reporter, you would be expected to promote culture and you will have a great responsibility to stimulate interest and participation in various cultural functions. You will have to come up with ideas, opinions and news about culture from different materials printed by cultural organizations. And your cultural news story writing style and other content would have to be based on information, entertainment and of general public interest. As we know it, music, world cinema, theatre, television, literature, fairs, etc. are newsworthy and have public interest. What is a culture story? It is a story focusing and giving prominence to civilizing influences like art, language, tradition, religion, etc., all of which have a bearing on and are a reflection of man's refined and cultured state. Types of cultural stories. Cultural stories can be of many types, depending on the subject matter or themes they deal with, like traditions. Common rituals are fertility and vegetation rituals. Example of vegetation ritual is the Minjar Mela of Chamba in Himachal Pradesh. Though rituals are found wherever man is, they are especially preserved in tribal societies. As a journalist, you can research and write about the customs and rituals of Adivasis of Bastar, the Ladakhis, Santals, Bodos, the Nagas, the Spitians, etc. Some unique customs prevalent in different parts of the country can throw up a large number of topics for stories, like Devadasi system of the south, the Romanis or Gypsies. As a reporter on the beat, you can also write about fashion, and you can start from traditional men and women wear and go on to the so-called ethnic touch being given to men and women's clothing. Language. Language and literature reflect the culture of any group. Teeming with a multitude of language and dialects, India offers a variety of topics in this field. The role and validity of various bodies like the Sahitya Kala Academy and the Gyanpith, which awards literateurs and their masterpieces, are some probable stories in this category. A comparative study of the script of various languages, or even an attempt at the origin of language and dialects, can also be the issue. Arts. Topics regarding visual arts like painting, oil, water, etc., and sculpture, performing arts like dance, folk and classical, music, instrumental or vocal, and drama come under this main topic. Well-known maestros offer good topics to write on. Cultural complexes like Bharat Bhavan at Bhopal make for good subjects too. The wisdom of starting zonal cultural complexes in the country, the organizing of cultural melas like the one at Surajkund near Delhi, and whether these really help Indian artists are good topics of research. Art galleries can be another probable topic. Researching and tracing the history of the performing and visual arts and other cultural disciplines, their actual situation in the country as also that of the performers, are hot issues today. Religion. This is a major influence on the cultural ethos of any race. Indian culture owes much to the influence and contribution of its various religions. Therefore, making religion as issue for cultural articles will not be amiss. An issue most currently in circulation deals with religious fundamentalism. No less current is its obverse, Indian secularism. Both can offer a variety of topics to write on. Close associates of religions are fairs and festivals. India is a veritable fairground. Besides national festivals like Onam, Pongal, Eid, Diwali, etc., each province, district and village of the country has its own share of fairs and festivals. Research into them offers a bumper crop of topics for you to harvest. Religious practices of various people can be a good topic too. The genesis and underlying significance of festivals, topics like moral values, mysticism and the like that flow from religion can also be picked up. Media. The media which conveys our culture through audio-visual mediums like TV, films as well as through newspapers and radio, as well as books, can become topics of discussion themselves. Features on the media do not aim at presenting reviews you have seen or heard, but highlight aspects like the type and standards of TV programs, usefulness of book fairs, etc. Freedom of the press, role of television, autonomy of broadcasting services, quality of advertising, and their role in cultural progress can be used as story ideas too. Reporting on culture. Selection of subject and topic. Once you have identified the types of cultural feature, your next step would be to choose the subject and topic. You should, as much as possible, Choose a topic that you care about. Arts, for example, requires more than just research. It requires, amongst others, a finely tuned sensibility to subtle nuances of aesthetic culture to be able to write convincingly about it. B. Research. After the selection of the topic comes the research. At this stage, you start collecting all relevant material for fleshing out your story. If you have chosen ritualistic fairs as your topic and a particular fair called the Minjar Fair of Chamba town in Himachal as your topic, this is how you can proceed to research. Ask yourself questions like, has this topic been dealt before? If so, what aspect of the topic has been written about? Was it treated as a ritual alone or as a fair? Was its history traced or only its mode of present celebration highlighted? Ask yourself whether you can pick up an untouched aspect to write on. Maybe if all aspects have been highlighted, then you could maybe do a comparative study of hill fairs with a special emphasis on Minjar Fair. You must be able to define the topic of your story in a line. How do you collect related facts? Suppose you want to focus on Minjar Fair as a ritual. You must collect all the related facts or data about it from all available sources. For instance, you can get more from the Punjab State Gazetteer. You may come to know that some of the ceremonies in this fair are observed in other parts of the hills. Now, this should trigger you to collect material on these other ceremonies celebrated in other hills to get a comparative view. Collect information about what a ritual actually is, what a vegetation or fertility ritual is, and whether such rituals have existed from prehistoric times or have started recently. These related facts will provide the background and flesh out the story further. You can also dig out more information about the exact year of its inception and the exact date the fair acquired the modern shape in which it is celebrated today to add more color to your feature. Interviews with related people. Perhaps the best picture will emerge if you visit Chamba personally. You can also hunt down people personally associated with the fair. Interview them to get a first-hand account of the entire affair and to source any unknown information about it. You could use these interviews in your program or base your story on them. A visit to the Bhuri Singh Museum in Chamba town will also yield much interesting detail. You could also look up and talk to academicians and experts who have done extensive research on the fair. They will be invaluable in giving information on the fair. Do's and don'ts of cultural reporting. You must check and double check your facts while treating delicate subjects like rituals and customs, fairs and festivals with regards to their names and dates. If you don't feel comfortable about writing on a topic which is very specific, like the comparative merits of traditional and modern painting, then by all means choose topics that are more general and broad, like a story on the modern painters of repute. Do not touch topics that are strictly for the experts. For instance, do not write about the subtleties of Indian classical music unless you have an ear for music or some knowledge of it. Also, handle sensitive issues like language very tactfully. If an article of yours tilts towards one language in favor of another language, you could end up hurting the sentiments of a lot of people. This kind of bias has to be avoided at all costs. Lastly, let each article that you write just not be a collection or patchwork of materials that you have collected, but give it a stamp that is uniquely yours. Society reporting and introduction. History and background. Society reporting goes back a long time, as long back as 1835. This is when a society page made its appearance in an American newspaper. Society reportage centered upon the lives and social gatherings of the rich and famous, with names hidden partially with dashes. The owner of the newspaper, Bennett, was perhaps the first to realize the value of society or gossip journalism. Bennett said there was more journalistic money to be made in recording gossip that interested barrooms, workshops, racecourses, and tenement houses than in consulting the tastes of drawing rooms and libraries. Soon, society news both on dedicated society pages and in the new Sunday supplements became very popular. Society pages and the so-called women's pages that they were either synonymous with or one part of were a part of the strategy to attract women readers as newspapers became more and more funded by advertising. These pages catered to the tastes of the stereotypical American housewife of the time. Society news, fashion, food, relationships, etiquette, health, homemaking, interior decorating, and family issues. Now, known variously as celebrity journalism, gossip, page 3 journalism, and tabloid journalism, society reporting has made itself indispensable to any newspaper or magazine. What the gossip journalist dishes out is a tasty morsel comprising of lives of celebs, their family lives, sexual conduct, gossip, and a smattering of news on page 3 events. Those featured on page 3 include fashion designers, socialites and models, remix music divas, and the glamorous and the rich. The flashy supplements dealing with celeb news are usually a mix of celebrity news, party picture, movie gossip, and stories on such subjects as the sexual habits and preferences of celebs. Observers say India's runaway page 3 culture reflects two distinct levels of an aspirational society. One is the need for gossip. The second is the desire to be seen to be famous by featuring on page 3. B. What does a celebrity journalist do? As a celebrity or society journalist, you would be required to cover celebrity events and track the lifestyles of celebs and members of the high society. You will chronicle cocktail parties and gossip of the glitterati. A gossip columnist's job description typically includes reporting on celebrity news. He or she might discuss the recent divorce of a well-known actress or share his or her opinion about the indiscretions of a leading politician. Typically, gossip columns combine elements of fact and opinion. But he should be careful not to defame celebrities in a way that exposes himself and his publication to a lawsuit. As a protection, publications with editorial policies generally require that the information shared in a gossip column come from a reliable source. This beat is definitely not for the faint-hearted. There is a terrible pressure on celeb journalists to get the story at all times and at any cost. C. Society beat essentials. Reporting techniques. A. Where is the society story? This beat more than any other demands going beyond the predictable. A journalist is as good as his sources. This applies the most to gossip journalists. The source for the gossip story may be the celebrity himself or his publicist, friend, family member, colleague, or other person who is intimately familiar with the celebrity's life. A good first step when you want to become a gossip journalist may be learning how to write well, as sometimes you have to write stories out of fluff. You will also want to work to boost your research skills and develop sources of the gossip about which you will write. B. Locating and building sources. You may know people with connections in the entertainment industry who can share juicy tidbits of information with you. You can then use this information to write your story. It is critical to your success as a gossip journalist to make sure you have sources of information that can provide gossip-worthy details early on. Your sources should ideally provide you with information early enough so that you can file your story before the information becomes stale. You have to go through many hoops just to talk to a major celebrity. You have to get past 3 different sets of publicists: the publicist for the event, the publicist for the movie, and the celebrity's personal publicist. They all have to approve you before you can even approach a celeb for an interview. But there are so many times that even the senior hacks are unable to reach the stars. Remember, you're always going to be lower than the celebrity, no matter what, even if you think you are a celebrity yourself. C. Interviewing celebrities. While preparing for the interview, ask yourself, what would you like to know about the celebrity? If you're curious, your readers or listeners will be as well. Write down the questions. Go online and search for other profiles of the celebrity you're going to interview. Find out what other reporters have asked him, especially recently. Compare with your questions. If they appear on your list, try to think of a new angle to give these questions or tweak them based on current events. Otherwise, strike them off your list. Look for news items regarding your celebrity and for any recent activities by the celeb that can point you in the right direction for a question or two. For example, if you read somewhere that an actor has refused a film by a certain director, ask him why. You might have to dig deep to find topics that other reporters haven't already exhausted. Review your list of questions and decide which you would most likely to be asked yourself if you were the celebrity. When your interview begins, start with this question. Be flexible and innovative while conducting interviews. Always make up new questions as you go along. Keep questions short and simple. Keep questions open-ended questions and avoid leading questions. If you don't understand something, ask for an explanation and keep the interview short. To become a gossip columnist, you must possess strong writing and interviewing skills. Columnists must have the ability to interview and comfortably interact with sources. Ethical issues associated with celebrity or society journalism. There has been a big shift towards a more entertainment-based journalism style, also called tabloidization of news. The fear associated with this shift is that important issues such as healthcare, education and development have been given the backseat in favor of tabloid news, which drives sales. In addition to this, there is also the big question of celebrity journalists crossing ethical lines to snare the celebrity interview. There is too much pressure on celeb journalists to churn out stories, and applying rigorous fact-checking systems becomes a problem sometimes. Some reporters are less scrupulous about sources and accuracy, especially when it comes to celebrity cases. The popularity of celebrities can drive up readership or viewership, and so editors and journalists can at no cost ignore what the public actually wants. However, some magazines and television programs are so dependent upon celebrities that they may hype or soften stories to promote or protect celebrities. Another big problem is when journalists allow celebrities or their representatives to control copy. There can also be a tendency to cut costs or speed up story production by relying on public relations agents as substitutes for good, sound reporting. We would advise against letting celebrity coverage be characterized simply by scandals. We have become a voyeuristic society, but there is a need to identify the difference between what is newsworthy and what is journalistic pornography when it comes to showcasing stories or photographs. Celeb journalism today has become little more than an extension of the stars' publicity machines. This has made it more important for you as a journalist on the beat to adhere to the ethical standards, stick to the truth, quote the sources of your news, and stay away from defamation and scandal. Recap. In today's program, we have learned skills for reporting and writing on culture, finding sources and ideas for a story, researching and reporting. Reporting on celebs, also called gossip journalism, finding sources and interviewing celebs. All the best for a great learning time ahead. Till the next time, happy learning and goodbye.